What's going on, everyone? I have really bad news, really terrible news. Not the news I wanted to talk about this morning. It's that AVAX is exploding in price. And I missed my entry on the trade. At first, I thought it was by 40 cents. Now I'm realizing it's about 38 cents. I hit every other trade I wanted to enter yesterday. But of course, the one that I missed by 38 cents is exploding by 10% today. And I'm pretty upset about it. For anyone who entered a little higher than me, you guys are having a great morning. Great, fantastic gains. All my other ones, 6 out of 7's not bad. Those in like gold membership, you guys know what I'm talking about. Gave 6 or 7 entries yesterday. 6 of them hit. But that AVAX, the special boy of today, missed me by 38 cents. And I am depressed. T-Shroom, how are you doing? I hope you're doing better than me this morning.
I am doing pretty well, Tim. I'm doing better than I deserve. I was not really locked into that AVAX trade very much, so I'm on a different wavelength than you are today. Little bit of a different wavelength.
Are you doing better than you deserve? Because I certainly am not.
I'm doing better than I deserve, and I've got a quote here just for you, Tim. Just for you. This is from H. Jackson Brown, who I don't know who that is, but he's got it right here when he says,
Anyone with a letter for a first name is a good guy.
Exactly. Nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity. You get to stick the knife and turn the knife.
Yeah, it's like squirting lemon juice into a paper cut. Gosh. And what's really sucky, we're going to take a look at it here in just a couple of minutes. I'm not seeing like a beautiful re-entry. Like I feel like this one might continue to climb up. Right now we're getting closer to $45. I think it's going to run up to about 46 before it wants to pull back. So I will try to get a re-entry, and I'll let you guys know what that looks like. But I'm upset about it. Like I said, it's not just that I missed it. It's that it was the one. Like I said, my Cardano trade, like Cardano is up like 3.5, almost 4. This is on the AVAX chart. But Cardano, since my entry, got in. It actually wicked a little lower, but I got in. It's up now. What is this? From that entry point, up 4. Almost 5%. Solana, I don't think I put my entry point. It was somewhere. I think I entered right at 71. It was like I entered at 71. Oh, yeah, this was the one that was beautiful because I think I entered at 71, like 2 or 3. Now, it's going to say here on this one, this is Binance. I think the lowest it got was the 79.29, but on Blowfin, it got to my 71.2. So I almost hit that one perfectly. So that is a little bit of a win. Link dropped a little bit below. I think I entered at 14.2, so that one went lower than my original entry. Bitcoin went a little bit lower. I went 41.7. We wicked down to about 41.633, give or take. But yeah, no, AVAX.
I've got a little more salt for your wound here, Tim.
And here's what messed me up. I went kind of exclusively with the liquidation levels. I'll show you guys here in just a second, but there was a trend I should have seen. This right here, 30. I went with 38 on the dollar, and we wicked down to 38.38, and
that's rough.
That's a rough one right there. Well, I was looking at the liquidations. We're gonna do more TA here in just a little bit, guys. What am I on? 7 day. Let's go to 12-hour. Let's run it. And we're kind of just take a look here. I do think I have. Oh yeah. Okay. So what we were looking at here yesterday. Oh, it's not gonna see because it's the 12 hours old. This was a lot brighter. And then since everything took off after coming down. Yeah, because it's not even showing us anywhere close to that. I have to go to the 7 day, and I have to zoom in here. Oh, yeah. So we wicked right there. There was a boatload right in here of nice yellow liquidations. They're not showing right now because this is the 7 day instead of 12-hour, but we missed it. We missed it like right. Yeah, you can kind of see that sliver right in here at 38. Wow, that's what I went with. My thought was I was like, let me try to get in like closer. This is the lesson, guys. I've told you guys the lesson before. Do not try to hit perfect bottoms. And I didn't think 38 was gonna be the perfect bottom. I honestly thought it was gonna drop slightly below 38 and kind of come down maybe towards 37.50 or so, but it didn't. And so it is what it is. But I am up. If we go over to my trades, I'm up a considerable amount here with a lot of them. Let's see, Link 35 up. Oh yeah, see, ADA is doing well for me. I'm up over $60, 13%. Solana got some 45 in there. TIA, I'm up 51. Optimism. Now Optimism's kind of gotten really boring here. I don't know if they can see it because I think it's too low and the sponsors are covering it. I'm up only like $7 there, but I think Optimism is gonna pop here. We're gonna cover more charts in just a little bit. Let's do this T-shirt. Let's go back to BroCam before we jump in here. We're gonna have some. We're gonna engage with chat today. It's a special Saturday show. In fact, let's read some chat here in a second. Then we're gonna jump in. We're doing a market watch, get into some charts, do some news, and we'll have ourselves a show.
I like it.
Crimson Caravan Company says the next order block for AVAX is 48.50 on the 1 hour. Yeah, we'll have to take a look at that. I know liquidations get up above 46. So if they're going to chase and try to eliminate all those short positions, and it could get pretty explosive. It'll definitely go up above 46. I'll have to take a look at 48.50 when we look at the charts in more depth. If I got in now, Shushan, I'd make quite a bit before January, February pullback. The truth is, I think almost anything you get into right now, you probably could make some money on if you just stay patient. If you don't do crazy heavy leverage. I was just telling T-Shirt, I'm probably not going to talk about it today. I have a strategy I'll probably talk about a little bit closer to the January 10th date when I do anticipate, again, we kind of mentioned this yesterday, T-Shim and I are going to have ourselves a little bit of a bet on what happens on January 10th. Do we get an approval of ETFs? Do we get a delay of ETFs? But I'm going to, when we get closer into January, I will give you guys one of the strategies and things that I'm going to look to do in this next bull market with some of my trading portfolio, not HODL portfolio, which is a very, very big difference here. But I think that I'm not gonna say every single one because there's some altcoin right now like Bonk or something. Like I wouldn't invest in Bonk; it's just bloated to the upside. But there's a lot. Most cryptos from here to January 10th, I do believe there's upside. Just don't go crazy leverage because just in case, let's say you went like 10x leverage, I could see random altcoins having a 10% splash and then rallying up. So it's like, all right, don't go crazy with your leverage. Keep it conservative, and you should be able to make some money between now and January 10th. But I was going to ask you, T-Shirt, before we get in here, it's Saturday,
It is.
So we're doing this Saturday show. What do you have planned the rest of the day?
I am going to see Tony Hinchcliffe live in Jacksonville, Florida.
Tony Hinchcliffe. That's the comedian?
Stand-up comedian, yeah.
Nice.
Not necessarily child appropriate at all, so don't just go searching him up on YouTube and expect that to be a PG experience. But he's somebody who Amanda and I really like. He's got a show called Kill Tony, which again, not necessarily child friendly at all.
Not what you want right there. Yeah, I'm the exact opposite. We're taking Brody to meet Santa Claus today.
Oh, very nice. That is the exact opposite.
But it did spark me because I'm interested in your thought, and we're gonna get into crypto here in a second. But we joke around sometimes. This is the show we talk about marriage and family more than crypto.
Exactly.
Taylor and I have been having some. Not Taylor is in T-Shroom. Taylor, my wife, and I have been having some conversations recently. I'm interested what your thoughts are. T-Shroom, will you be teaching your children to believe in Santa Claus at an early age?
Teaching them to believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah. Are you going to promote Santa Claus to your younglings?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. Now, let me know in chat what you guys think. And Taylor, my wife's not fighting me on this. I'm not. Like, we're going to go meet Santa. We're going to let him watch Santa movies. But I am not going to lie to my child and tell him that Santa Claus is real. We're just gonna, I'm gonna tell him to respect other people's opinions and to not ruin it for all the other kiddos on the playground. But I'm not gonna perpetuate the lie.
You want your kid to be woke?
I vividly remember one of the main reasons why I'm doing this is because some people might be like, is this a religious thing? No, it's not a religious thing actually whatsoever. Even though, religiously, of course, I don't believe in Santa Claus real. Of course, am I ruining this for something? I'm ruining this for you out there that Santa Claus is not real. I deeply apologize. You turned in the wrong.
That's your opinion. It's not. You don't have any.
That's
proof.
true. My opinion. No, but I vividly remember being like, I think like 5 or 6 when I put the pieces together that Santa was not real. But I was also one of those kids. I put a lot of things together.
Sure.
I was punished heavily for lying as a child, right? If I lied, spankings, right? I come from a spanking household. If you guys don't believe in spanking, that's okay. I came from a spanking household, and I was spanked for lying. And I remember the betrayal when I put 2 and 2 together that Santa Claus was not real, and my parents, who spanked me every time I lied, had perpetuated that lie to me. And it was I had to go to therapy. I'm just kidding. I didn't go. But I should have gone to therapy probably as a child to get through that anger and bitterness with my my parents.
Yeah.
But
well, hey,
teach his own.
It's actually a little bit more complicated than that, though, Tim, because if you ask Bard, is Santa real? Literally, you get an answer. But symbolically, Santa is absolutely real, right? He's real symbolically. So we won't have to linger on that too much longer, but really appreciate that. And Tim, you're going to have a lot of fun getting those pictures of Brody.
Yeah,
I'm excited for him. Let's
take a look here. Chat, I'm sure we got some good opinions here. Dave Digital said, I can't believe Tim and Teen have never been to the piano bar on Friday or Saturday night. No, okay. I know you two would love it. Oh, yeah, that might be fun. I like piano. I don't really like bars, but a piano bar might be fun. 100x. Alex O'Crypto says 100x leverage on Santa Claus is real. Yeah, it's going to get liquidated fast. Santa for show says anywhere about crypto, they'll learn eventually, but let them enjoy their childhood. Crimson Caravan Company said, but learning Santa isn't real is one of the great American disappointments that every child should experience. Yeah, you're swaying me. Maybe we actually do this. Dave Digital says, Tim, you need a spanking for lying to us about Santa not being real. All right. This is good stuff. All right. Well, that was a good, nice, fun intro to our Saturday special edition. Let's check out what is happening, T-Shroom, right now in the crypto markets. Even though everything is technically red right now within the, I say that and it just flashed green. Did that mean everything just pumped? I don't think so. I think it just updated my page. I don't know why it was all red. We have, Tether's in the red, but that's not really big. USDC in the red. You don't want to see those in the red, but they're just barely in the red. Almost everything. Cardano, actually, crazy enough, is still in the red in the last 24 hours. Green on the daily candle, but red within the last 24 hours. Why? Because Cardano had a pretty hefty pullback yesterday. But of course, there we go. Breaking my heart right now. Avalanche up 10% within the last 24 hours. Yeah. That's rough. We're not gonna.
Do you have any AVAX exposure at all?
Yeah. We were talking about this beforehand. Long-term hodl bag, I'm fine, right? But that's also the reason I'm not really taking that.
You're fine as in you have AVAX?
As in I have it.
Okay.
But it's like I'm not going to sell that. I'm not even thinking about selling that until like summer of 2025.
Sure.
So I'm not concerned with that. I'm worried about my trading portfolio, which at the moment is not exposed to AVAX because I got out, took some hefty. That was AVAX was one of my trades I made last week where I made like $800. Sure. So I took some good profit, was waiting for another good entry point, found my good entry point, and then freaking missed it by 38 cents. Let's take a look at our big movers though. ICP big pump over the last 24 hours, up 25%. Now, here's a question, T-Shroom. ICP, do you have any exposure to ICP? Any plans to have exposure to ICP?
Zero. Yeah. ICP is on our spreadsheet list here.
Yeah.
As
a no-go.
Avoid.
Put it in the comments in chat if you think we got that wrong. Should we? Clearly, anyone who held ICP had a great day yesterday. Mm-hmm. You're up 72% in the last 7 days. So you're having some good times. But yeah, I don't know how much I believe in it long term. Let me know if we're wrong. Let us know why we should be changing our mind. Woo Network up 13%. I keep getting scam. I'm pretty sure there's scam messages in Twitter from people at Woo Network. Do you guys know about Woo Network? I don't know. I'm not really necessarily a believer in that one either. Yeah. So a lot of big gainers here. Let's take a look. Were there any losers? There we go. Bonk. After just ridiculous upside, and at this point, yesterday it was up 100% within the last 7 days. Now it's down almost 13%. It is down, so it's moving back to the downside. But Bonk, hey, I know a lot of people who think, Bonk could potentially be one of those coins that continues to tear to the upside during the bull market. So I'm not looking for exposure right here, but like this is one I might consider T-shirt. I might put like $50 to $100 in Bonk and just see what can happen during the bull market. It's another dog coin. Of course, you already have like your Dogecoins and your Shiba Inus, but the difference with Bonk is it's a Solana coin, and I think Solana coins could have an interesting bull market. So Bonks want to keep my eye on. Injective, I definitely want to hold Injective. Down 5% today, but I think Injective is another one that could have a pretty good bull market. That's going to make its way into my portfolio. Beam is down. Someone asked earlier in chat what we think of Beam. Beam, again, another meme coin. Is Beam on Solana too?
I don't think Beam is a meme coin.
It's not a meme coin? What is Beam?
No, I think it is on Solana, but I don't. Yeah, I think
it's another Solana coin. Okay, so Beam's another one I think that I want to have at least, even though I don't know much about it in general. I think I want to have some exposure to it. But that's what we're looking at right now, guys. Not necessarily too much in the red, lot in the green. T-shirt. Let's go ahead and take a look at some charts. Let's start off with Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin again got in our entry 41.7. Moving to the upside right now, but technically still in this little bit of a downtrend. Let's go ahead and draw a nice little trend line right here. I don't think I want to use that wick right there. I think I want to kind of use this one right here. So what I want to see to kind of confirm this move to the upside, and we will see moves to the upside in my opinion.
Quick correction, really quick. Sorry to interrupt you. Beam is not on Solana. It's on ETH.
What is on?
It's on ETH and BNB. So.
Crimson Caravan Company said Beam is a game on AVAX. So we have a lot of misinformation out here about Beam. Beam is gaming, Alex of Crypto says. Yeah, okay. Thank you, guys. I need to learn more about it. It is one that's gone nuts here more recently, but I've said it before, I'm not a degen guy. I do try to spend more of my time looking at blue chips for good trading opportunities. But we want to expand. I know T-Shroom's expanding that route. We have some amazing people on our Discord who are constantly doing that research. So make sure you're over there. But thank you. Yeah, thank you for that update, T-Shroom. Back to Bitcoin TA, though. Yeah, let's get above this trend line right here. So we're kind of looking in the area. It's going to get interesting when we start to approach back towards 43. Right around here, 42.9 is going to get interesting, but 43 ultimately is kind of what we're looking at there. Fixed range volume profile, even I'm going to assume is going to have something sitting in that area. Even though we don't have point of control or value area high or anything, we are going to see a little bit of a gap right there, kind of get into that area that could be served as a little bit of a temporary resistance. Let's take a look over here as well. Let's go ahead and update this to Bitcoin. And I do think this is one T-Shroom you're going to have to move there we go. Yeah, you know the drill here. Let's see. Let's go to 12-hour rather than 7-day. We'll come back out to 7-day here in just a second, and let's zoom on in. You will see when we kind of zoom in, a lot of liquidity sitting right there right below 43. Would not be surprised, and we have more up here, but I would not be surprised if we saw a move something similar to this, where not that I think we're going to drop all the way back down below 42, but I honestly could see if we can't make a break through that 43, we hit this level of resistance, make a small pullback, maybe as low back to 42, and then we make a move to the upside. Why I'm saying that? Well, look, we have some liquidity sitting right here. If we get a hard rejection at 43, and this is a big if we get a rejection at 43, I will look for a move back down towards 42 to then find kind of our support level to make a break cleanly through that trend line. But then again, when you start to make that break, now you're looking up here. All right, the next level of liquidity, we're talking about up above 44. When I move back out to the 7-day, let's let this run. 7-day, you're going to get a lot of interesting liquidity all the way up here, definitely towards 47. And then you see a little bit of a gap right in here towards 48. Could get interesting. I want to see when we start to move to the upside and we get explosive, there will be more liquidity that comes in, because all the times, I think I explained this earlier, this chart is constantly changing because all it is showing you is where there is liquidity based off of where there were shorts, where there were longs. That's going to be areas where it'll inform traders, hey, you get here, you can liquidate X amount of millions of dollars of longs or shorts, and then potentially if you keep your momentum going, you could use that to make the price explode with very little volume. But a lot of times you do see price at least temporarily reverse around these yellow points. They will be turned into almost like magnets. And especially when you see this much, I kind of see a move up here. Rejecting right here times 46, and then we make our decision. Do we want to move up towards 48, towards 50? Let's see how the liquidations kind of update themselves from there. But when it comes to Bitcoin, again, even from a technical perspective, let me get rid of my fixed range volume profile, and I have my drawing tool on, so that's why that's delaying me here a second. I do think that could be very, very interesting. Let's even look at Fibonacci on the short timeline. I'm going to go to this level right here rather than that high, because that was a Coinbase kind of a glitch. Yeah, look at that same level, 43, 42.9 right there at the golden pocket. So You guys in a Bitcoin trade, if you want to just, hey, I don't want to have to worry about it. I don't want to have to be watching the charts all day, every day. You just sit here and hold your Bitcoin. I do think we're moving to the upside. I do think we're setting new highs for this year. I think that we could be ending the 2023 season somewhere closer towards 38, and then I think the reversal comes early in January. But if you're a swing trader, if you are saying, Tim, I watch the charts every single, I want to see what's happening, might not be a bad idea to take some profit here around 42.9, 43,000. We're hitting our golden pocket. We're hitting that liquidity, and then look for a re-entry. I might not wait all the way for 42, but maybe I'm going to wait for maybe a pullback to the 0.5 somewhere around 42.3. That's still in a short timeline here on Bitcoin. After hitting this low, then coming up higher, hitting this new low. Now that's not a higher low, but it still would be in this little check, staying higher than this wick down to 41.6, a re-entry at 42, still a higher low. And then again, you make your move, you break that resistance, and now you kind of get to have the volume eliminated. By the way, that's another big thing that happens when you take out these moves, these yellow boxes, and then you move back to the downside. Let me zoom in here a little bit because it's like really spread out. You eject here, come back down. Well, now that you've left a gap, and now when you regroup, you can make a bigger move to the upside, right? So not a bad idea if you have the time and you're watching the charts. Take some profit here around 43-ish. See here, it zoomed in. Now it says 43.6. I still think 43 is going to be your level here when you're looking at the 12-hour. You gotta make sure you're looking at multiple timelines here. Yeah, reject right here, boom, come down, then re-enter for a move back up towards 44. Maybe take some profit there, wait for a pullback. It will not be a straight candle from here up to 48. There will be a plenty of ups and downs, like we kind of just do right there. Boom, 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 boom. It will look like this on its way up to 48. You should have some decent little entries right there. Let's take a look at AVAX. Let's see if I can mend my broken heart and look for another entry. I told you guys when it comes to liquidations, not necessarily feeling great about this. Now, one of the things I am curious about here, even here on the hourly chart, every other coin that I mentioned, when I talk about those other 6 entries, they all dropped to lower levels with the oscillators. That's why I thought we'd have a little bit lower to go. We even crossed slightly below the 50 there on the RSI. So I was like, here we go. Yeah, I'm gonna enter my position. It's gonna drop a little bit below. We'll be fine. We'll move to the upside. It's staying high. So I do think hourly chart is showing us we're a little overextended. We did drop below here. You guys are gonna see when we kind of zoom out, there was a former support level kind of established that we did lose. Not going to be surprised if we end up hitting our heads on it, but look at that right there. We could literally get here on the hourly chart up here towards 46, 47 before we even hit that level. Coming back over here, looking at liquidations. Let's take a look at AVAX. Boom, right there on the list. Let's take a look what we're seeing at the moment, and we'll zoom this in right here. A lot of liquidity sitting right up here to 46. You could see rejection closer to 45, but I think you make your way through all of this with their explosive movement. Look at a move to 46 potentially, but again, you do have some liquidity that it could, if we get momentum, we could try to get a little bit higher there. But liquidity is definitely telling us 46, maybe even slightly below 46 might be a good place to be taking profit if you made it yourself into a trade. And then, let's see, let's actually go back to this. I don't know. I don't know if I think we're going to drop all the way back down to 40. That'd be quite a little fall here. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that would look like if it were to happen. A move up here, again, 46, give or take. We'd have to drop pretty far, but we could. Could we see maybe a retouch? All right. I think that's it. I think T-Shroom, that's my re-entry position. When I'm looking at this liquidity, and the fact that that's still a rising level of support right there. Oh, you can scoot my thing over. I'm going to stop looking at liquidation for just a second. This to me looks like it potentially could be a good re-entry point based off of what we just saw with a lot of those yellow graphs of liquidity. That just means high levels of longs will be liquidated if they can get back. So they're working right now to eat up all those shorts. Once they're finished eating up all those shorts, they'll run out of momentum. They'll want to regroup. They'll eat up some of those longs, and we'll keep making our way. Now, you never know when there's just going to be something crazy that happens and things just take off. That has happened now several times within not just AVAX, but other coins as well. You guys can see there are times where you start to just get through things like right here. We have a nice little trend kind of going. let's look at this. You guys see lots of rejection right in here. We break above it, and then out of nowhere, we just shoot up. We did very little hesitancy whatsoever. So this is one that a dam could break and the price could just get explosive. But for right now, we're staying kind of clean with some support and resistance while we're working our way up. Now let's take a look here. I deleted it. I must have, or this is the wrong chart. I got to use one with longer time frames. Look at that. Yeah, we hit a lot of different levels we were talking about. There's still a chance. That was a long term. I did that AVAX price prediction the other day. So if you're looking at that saying, "Oh, Tim, we can go that high," no, we can't. I'm not going that high that fast. What I'm looking at my next level is going to be somewhere right here around $50 is going to be a very good spot that I think time-wise could be a realistic position for January, early January, to be a potential top. For AVAX, that, of course, is the golden pocket. Now, corresponding this to other things, we do, if you get all the way to 53 is a former support level over here from all the way back in January of 2022. That's kind of interesting. Even though it's not perfect support, this lower level there, this was a zone definitely used as support back in October of 21, September of 21, a little bit of a rejection area sitting here in August of 21. But I do think that's the kind of level I'm keeping my eye on using Fibonacci. Watch for kind of that zone right up there, close to 50, if not up to about 53. To me, at this point, it's going to be my prediction for if you see a $53 AVAX, might not see too much higher for now. And then I think we're gonna save. Like a lot of people have been asking in chat and comments, Tim, when we have a pullback, if we have a pullback, how far will some of these coins pull back? I'm not going to look in depth at that today. We'll take a look at those in future shows, maybe the last week, or maybe early in January before we've actually had the pullback, but we think it's coming. We'll take a look at some levels that I think you guys want to keep your eye on to potentially make a long-term buy. Could be the lowest you're going to see the price of that coin ever be again. So make sure you keep watching the show. That'll probably be a Saturday show. So keep watching every Saturday to get some of that information. T-Shroom, we're going to take a break from TA. Yeah, what you got for me?
Well, I was just about to say, we actually we found a story where some Benzinga analysts actually predicted Dogecoin to 14 cents, which kind of reminds me of your prediction yesterday, where you actually did something with Dogecoin that was very, very similar.
Yeah, that's let's go 4 hour here. Yeah, yesterday someone brought Dogecoin up on the show, and I drew this little pattern for you. Let's go ahead and mimic this one. Let's clone it so you guys can see where that came from. We got ourselves a little bit of a bull flag pattern with a price prediction that would send us up to 1363, 13 cents, 0.63. So this it's interesting. That article said it. I wonder if they're using some confluence. I wonder what their rationale. Does the article go into any detail about what their thinking was?
It kind of does, but I mean, what's important is that Dogecoin more than likely has some more levels up top that it could test. But yeah, are you ready to go ahead and get into the factoid?
Put it squarely into platinum pocket. Let me see long term. I just want to take a look at a couple things. Fibonacci level, see if there's any confluence there as well. We'll look at fixed range and then we'll kind of move on. Going to move this down just slightly down the bear market bottom. That would put us right to the 0.32. So that's a little confluence right there.
Yep.
If I were to move out the long-term levels here, see right here, this is going to get interesting around 11 cents where there's a nice big gap. There is a peak up there. Maybe you squeak up a little higher towards 14. They might be looking at that. Honestly, that might be what this article is kind of heavily looking at when it says 14 cents. 14 cents has a nice peak to the volume, but you guys know peaks have their play. But to me, I'm telling you right now, I have found 7 out of 10 times when you see a strong bounce, you're seeing that bounce in a volume gap, not a volume peak. That's just my experience, though. If you guys do TA and you've seen something different, let me know. But yeah, good call. I mean, the article seems like a good article about Dogecoin. I think Dogecoin could make this move up here closer to 14 cents. I'm going to be a little south of that, though, 1360. Let's go with that for a price prediction for Dogecoin.
I like it. Well, Tim, we've got a great factoid today, and it's brought to you by the same folks who was brought to you by yesterday, which is NordVPN. So NordVPN, really, really top-notch VPN for securing your computational devices, whether that be your tablet, your Mac in this case, your desktop, or your smartphone. And right now, You can get a 2-year plan plus 1 additional month with a huge discount. It's risk-free, and Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee is the deal that we have right now. You can click this link. It's the first link in our partner links. I guess it's the second link. Sorry, I didn't see it. But you got Blowfin. You've got our charity partner, Life of the Innocent. You've got Crypto Tax, 25% off tax services, and a lot more excellent links. But NordVPN is kind of the one we're highlighting today. So go over there and take the steps you need to take to be protected in the cybersecurity realms. Tim, what 2 books of the Christian Bible describes the events of the Christmas Nativity? Is it Mark and John, Matthew and Luke, John and Luke, or is it Genesis and Revelations?
It's Matthew and Luke. First of all, Luke is the really commonly used passage about, because Luke goes into detail about the Christmas scene, but Matthew highlights the details of it. John decided, hey, I'm going to talk about the beginning, and then I'm going to kind of get into Jesus's ministry life. And Mark, well, let's see. Yeah, Mark dabbles in it as well, but I know Matthew and Luke for sure talk about it. I'd have to go back and look, because it's been a minute since I read the book of. I try to read a couple of chapters every day. I haven't read Mark in a minute. I could have sworn Mark mentioned it a little bit though. So this trivia question is messing me up. But I know Matthew and Luke cover it, so I'm going to go with B.
He's locking it in, folks. He's locking in B. Very, very, very interesting pick there, Tim. We'll have to see if that's right. Well, we don't have a ton of news today, guys, but we do have some, of course, brought to you by NordVPN. Brian Armstrong has put in a tweet here. This was as of the business closing. It was after our live stream yesterday. So small win. We went to court to challenge the SEC's refusal to create clear rules for the industry, and it worked. A court compelled them to respond. Now that they've formally responded with a no, we can challenge their response in court, which helps us get one step closer to regulatory clarity. The question is, why doesn't the SEC want to clarify outstanding regulatory questions for the crypto industry? That is the question, and it's not only Brian Armstrong who's asking; it's also elected officials. This is a congressman. I believe, Congressman, not a senator, Patrick McHenry. SEC Chair Gensler continued refusal to provide clarity for the digital asset ecosystem is shameful. If the law is clear in support of his position, why does the SEC keep losing in court? And this was a response from Hester Pierce, who said, Commissioner Yuda and I responded to today's denial of Coinbase's rulemaking, and she's got a statement there. So it's all across the board. It's the private industry, Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, and it's also, members of Congress coming out and saying the SEC is really, really refusing to provide regulatory clarity for the space. What gives? And, I think also they're starting to ask the question of not how do we combat this? Because that's a 2022 question that they've already answered. We combat it in courts. Why we combat it through the traditional system that's set up. But I think more and more Congress people are asking the question, what can we do to go ahead and take that next step forward? And I hope that the conclusion is to go ahead and remove Gary Gensler.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely agree. There's a couple of things in chat I wanted to reference. I'm going to change the subject, but I think it's good. We're still talking about this. We talked about this a little bit yesterday's show as well. Ultimately, the SEC wants to create punishment for rules that don't exist. But we did have some chat. AVAX, good announcement. I totally forgot to talk about this, but it is true because I did this in my research. I did my price prediction the other day about AVAX, John. John J. Mackay said AVAX token unlock is next week. Guys, that's actually a great point. I think AVAX might be one that has its dip. Its top is coming next week. Why? Because there will be over 9.5 million tokens unlocked next week. Now, fun fact, we'll get unlocking of 9.5 for November. We'll get it again in February. We'll get it again in, May or June? May. And then we'll get it again in August. But after August 2024, AVAX goes down to they only unlock 1.5 million. So while inflation on AVAX is really it's not crazy out of control, but it's still high, especially next fall. the inflation rate is going to drop pretty heavily. One of the reasons why that kind of factored in, if you guys watch my price prediction video, why my price on AVAX is probably higher than most people. Yes, it currently has a certain level of inflation that's not necessarily choice, but that inflation is going to get a lot better. That was the first thing. Good point there, though, John. We could see, historically, we do see dips when those token locks happen. So good catch by John. Super chat. Always love super chats. Bilal Shaban. I don't know. Maybe you pronounce it differently. Is it true that the authors of the Bible are anonymous and that Mark didn't write the Gospel of Mark? Now, I am not a biblical scholar, meaning I didn't go and study everything, but it's not all of them are anonymous. Like, for example, all the letters of Paul, clearly he literally says, "It is I, Paul, the apostle." So it's like, all right, this is Paul writing this book. Luke did write Luke and Acts. He was a doctor. When it comes to Mark, Matthew wrote his for sure because Matthew was a tax collector, so the way he wrote everything down even was the way a tax collector would have written things. The way Luke wrote things down is the way a doctor would have written things. Mark, there's actually a lot of, and again, I'm not a Bible scholar, but I know there are question marks about who is Mark that wrote Mark. The point still stands, though, is that it when you cross-examine it with the other accounts of the gospel, it doesn't work in what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't contradict. It actually aligns and backs up the words that are said in the other gospels. So while we're not 100% certain who wrote Mark, good shot there, Bilal. Good point. It's doesn't take away the credibility of the writing. The writing is historically accurate by other accounts.
Sure.
Is the thought.
According to Google's AI Bard, the summary here, ultimately the question who wrote the book of Mark remains open to debate.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's not definitive. So that's pretty much in line with what you said.
A lot of, quick little factoid, because we just did our factoid. There's a verse in the book of Mark that talks about a child who ran away naked. A lot of people think that might have been the Mark who wrote the book. Like, he doesn't say his name, but it's like he would have been an eyewitness in certain events that Mark highlights pretty heavily. But it talks about a small child that had was stripped naked and ran away. Yeah, like a lot of scholars believe that might have been the Mark that wrote it.
Interesting.
Based off the context of the writing.
I'm sure the YouTube algorithm's going to love the previous last 60 words of text there. But all right, guys, we've got a video. We've got a video here.
Hopefully not.
I know. I think it's funny. We've got a video here. This is actually breaking as of this morning, I believe. This is the CEO of Van Eyck, which Van Eyck coming out with a spot Bitcoin ETF, among many others. Let's take a look. Let's take a listen.
Has Bitcoin already made the big gains and now kind of treading water?
No, because it's growing up. Like I said, it's like a child that's growing up, and so you can argue about it being a bubble. And what I say is no bubble. So it bubbled in 2017, but then it hit all-time highs in 2021. So nothing has ever been a bubble that then has outperformed itself. And so I fully expect in this cycle, and you have this halvening thing happening in April, which is great technically for Bitcoin. I expect all-time highs in the next 12 months.
So you guys are amongst those who have filed to have the first or one of many spot Bitcoin ETFs. How do you think they're going to approve it? Literally one at a time, firm by firm? Or is it going to be kind of a batch all at once? Your ticker, I have to say to your credit, is HODL.
Yeah, we're very happy with the ticker, which we announced last week.
It's a good ticker.
I very, very much expect it'll be all one day.
Okay.
Because that's what happened with the Ethereum futures. So because the SEC decided to sort of put everything on hold on crypto, just depending on paperwork, effectively, someone could have an unfair advantage. And they've said from a policy perspective, no, let everyone start at the same time.
There you go, Tim. So, I would say that adds fuel to my argument that we will get the approval on January 10th.
So, out of curiosity, what part of his sentence did you hear January 10th?
The tone.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't say any of his words indicate that, but just generally the optimistic tone. No, I don't think that clip really goes very strongly at all for or against either one of our arguments. But overall, the tone does seem optimistic, and the fact that it's getting continued coverage, right, is a selling point for these financial institutions to say, hey. They're trying to build. It's marketing. They're trying to build interest, build excitement, so that when your fiduciary comes to you and says, "Hey, your corporation has a lot of money that could be allocated to this emerging asset class, crypto and Bitcoin." You've been seeing it on CNBC. So it's like they're they're getting on the news for a reason now. But it could be wrong. It could be wrong. They could all
all I'm gonna say is they were super optimistic about 6 months ago, and they were super optimistic about 3 months ago, and there's a lot of people who thought that November period was going to happen. So this optimism that keeps swooping in keeps getting delayed, and again, I think eventually it will stick. We will get. I'm not saying we will never have a Bitcoin ETF. I'm not even saying I don't think it's going to happen in 2024. I think it will happen Q1 of 2024 in March, but I think that even the part that I read that makes me think that I'm going to continue to back up my opinion that January is not going to happen is they only owe ARK Invest an answer in January.
Correct.
And they're going to approve all of them at the same time. So what is more likely? That Gary Gensler and the SEC, who has been delaying these ETFs, moves 11 other ETFs forward by 2 months, 3 months, and approves everyone in January, or he fights to move one back 3 months to approve everyone in March. They're going to be approved all at the same time. Do you think he takes the masses and moves it forward, or takes the singular and moves it back?
See, I think the thing though is, Tim, like he's putting his job on the line by pushing it forward, because there's not really I don't know that there's really a precedent for extending further than the final deadline.
When you say he puts his job on the line, what do you mean?
Look, more than if he was to just go ahead and accept it. So you think he's going to accept it? I think he's going to accept it.
Okay.
Why would you put your neck out even more? I mean, he's working for some lobbyist, some interest, right? And so you would expect that potentially there could be some increased incentives. Say, hey, we need even more delay, another 2 months of delay here.
Okay.
But I think even the interest groups at this point are like, look, just make sure it's going to be compliant, make sure it's going to work with BlackRock, and we lost, so just go ahead and do it now. That's the way that I'm seeing it.
Okay, when did he lose the lawsuit?
When did he? Which lawsuit, Tim? There's a lot.
The lawsuit with Grayscale. The one he's referencing that he has to reevaluate everything is the Grayscale one. Do you remember the date that he lost that?
I don't.
It was back in October.
Okay.
So why didn't he approve it in November? Why isn't he approving it right now? Why is all of a sudden January 10th when he has to answer to one entity? Why is that all of a sudden the magic date? I just don't think so. I think he's delaying it as much as possible. But what's going to force him, when you say his job's in jeopardy, BlackRock has not sued him yet. BlackRock is the one that I think he has to obey that final date. Guess that final date? That's March. I think he's waiting until March to make the approval, because he's like a hurt little boy. He got his feelings hurt. He lost the war. So he's going to take every ability within his power to make it suck for everybody else as long as possible until he can't hold off anymore. My expectation is that date is March. He can't hold off past March. So being a spoiled little brat that he is, he's going to wait to that exact. It's like when you're a kid and you don't want to say sorry to your brother, but your mom says you have to, or you're going to not be able to go to the soccer game later. So you have the most pathetic, weak excuse possible. Or if like your mom gives you what child, if a child starts getting, if the mom's like, go clean your room, and then you say no, and the mom's like 10, 9, 8. No child goes at 8. They wait to 1. That's Gary Gensler. Gary, you have till March 10th to accept these ETFs.
That's
December, great. January, February, March. Okay, fine, I'll do it. All right, that's how it's going to work. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, look, I haven't heard anything that to me that's convincing, but I think ultimately either one of us could be right. Again, I don't think that your arguments are bad. I just think that
we could both be wrong. They could deny them in January and March, and then we just spend all of 2024 waiting to see if we do get an approval.
Or they accept them, before the stream's over.
Yeah. I don't think on a Sunday. I don't think a Saturday or Sunday. So Monday. They accept it on Monday. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to a future where, all of these kind of determinations are made on the blockchain, right? And they can be a lot more predictable. The market is going to want that, and it's only the beginning. So I still hold to my guns, and we'll have to come up with on Monday. We'll have our decision on what the consideration will be for the big bet we've got going. I still think
as
it's going
the
to be.
chat said yesterday, it's not as fun when we agree on things. It's a lot better that we disagree. So I love it. I love that we have disagreements.
But January 10th, all of the spot ETFs get approved that are, well, actually, sorry, no, not just, but at least the 21 shares ARK Invest spot Bitcoin ETF gets approved, but more than likely all the other ones. But the bet I'm making is that the 21 shares, Kathy Woods, hers, and I think that's going to go through. And I think the reasoning is because the jig's up, right? Gary gave it his best shot. He did the best he could for. I think it's more J.P. Morgan and the Elizabeth Warrens of the world. He's kind of in that camp a little bit. Those are like the kind of the interests that are lining his pockets, because I think the BlackRock's taking the other side of the coin, right? They see so much more opportunity. J.P. Morgan is one of the only ones that's not doing the ETF, right? They're not coming out with an ETF. I don't know if they're in a position to do that. They're going to invest in them. I know that banks are they're licensed, and their positioning to the market can be different. But literally, BlackRock, Invesco, Fidelity, all of these companies have them, are coming out with the spot Bitcoin ETFs. J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, where are those guys? They haven't really tossed their hat in the ring. Now, rest assured, they absolutely have on their balance sheets, exposure to this event that will go up, because of course they own, shares of Vanguard, shares of BlackRock on their own balance sheets. Of course, it's all, Wall Street is all a one entangled nest of investments and liquidity providing. But I think that if you really divvy it down the middle, there you have J.P. Morgan and the Goldman Sachs of the world on one side, and you have BlackRock on the other side with the Invesco's, Fidelity, and all. And it's kind of like, who cares? Because by the end of Q3 or Q2 at least, all of this is going to be a moot point. It will be either all these spot Bitcoin ETFs will have absolutely been accepted by then, or we are in uncharted territory, and Gary Gensler's is most likely fighting for his job. Right now, I think the pressure's on, but I think that the pressure that we see from Congress, from people like Patrick McHenry, a lot of what he's motivated by is interest groups as well. The Coinbases of the world, the Bitcoin associations. It's not like Patrick McHenry is just out here, perfectly, acting as a free agent, saying things that only he
stepping
believes.
down. McHenry is
there's
stepping
that
down.
too.
He's going to be leaving here soon.
Yeah, you have Tom Emmer. You have a lot of politicians that are pro crypto, and obviously I have a strong bias to be in favor of that and to applaud that sentiment. But I don't want anybody to think that there aren't interest groups on the crypto side as well. That's
that's
how
wrap this
DC
up.
works.
Well, we'll move on to a different topic, because we've talked about this almost every day, and this is good. I think we'll keep talking about it every day, but we've probably beaten the dead horse too much today with this topic.
Crimson Caravan agrees with you.
I want to be clear.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm not rooting. I would love to have an approval by January 10th. I want to make sure everyone understands that. I want an approval by January 10th, but I just don't expect it. So that's kind of where we are right now. Do we have any other news stories, or we want to jump back into some Q&A and some more charts?
We do not have any more news stories yet.
Cool.
Honestly, it was a slow news cycle this week, and then even drier Thursday and Friday. So you're welcome for me scraping the bottom of the barrel, guys, to bring you a little bit of news. So there you are.
But boom. Well, let's do this. Let's get the answer to our factoid of the day.
Absolutely.
Let's engage with some chat here, as we have 10-ish more minutes. We can run a little long today because it's Saturday, but I have to go meet a fake human, someone that's not real, and introduce him to Brody. That's Santa Claus.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Tim. Here we go. The answer to the factoid of the day is Matthew and Luke. You got it right, Tim. He said he's not a biblical scholar, and yet here we are. The Gospels of Luke and Matthew describe Jesus as being born in Bethlehem to a Virgin Mary. In the Gospel of Luke, Joseph and Mary travel from Nazareth to Bethlehem in order to be counted for a census, and Jesus is born there and placed in a manger. Tim, do you think that the census statistics were more accurate back then than the Labor Bureau of Statistics on jobs data and inflation and things like that?
I think they were more integral and more honest. Whether they were more accurate or not, I don't know. But no, they wanted to know. Here's what I'll say. When we were talking about yesterday's factoid of the day, how Egypt back in 1550, the new kingdom developed the 24-hour
BC.
cycle, right? It sometimes I think we take for granted how smart humans are without technology. Because like right now, we live in the greatest age of the planet, right? The amount of technology we have in the world right now that help us do things like math. We do math now. Like we teach children math that 1,000 years ago would have been the most complicated thing to understand to humans back then. And yet people did start to understand that stuff. The things that humans understood without crazy technology and the things that humans were able to accomplish without amazing technology is absolutely amazing. And it really makes you think like, yes, we're the greatest age of information we've ever had in the planet, but are we in terms of using our brain cells at maybe the dumbest level? Because when you think about some of the things that we know now, we just take for granted that there were humans who just one day this didn't exist and they had to think through it and develop it and create it. You're like, I would never be able to accomplish that if I was given 1,000 lives to develop all that stuff. So when you say like, was it more accurate? Low key, it might have been. And it seems weird, but like they were very efficient people and thinkers. Now they did just count men, by the way. So that maybe helps. They because of the culture and everything, they did not count women and children. They counted men.
Nowadays, it might be a little more difficult to do that.
It's a little more sexist than what we're used to in the current day and age. But yeah. No, I also did remember. So this is the thing. In case people are wondering, more Bible trivia. John picks up and goes heavily into the early days of Jesus's ministry. Mark picks up and gives us a lot of details on John the Baptist's ministry before it jumps into Jesus. So yeah, Luke and Matthew covered Christmas pretty heavily, the birth of Christ. And then, yeah, Mark jumps in with John the Baptist 30 years after the birth of Christ, and John does the same. So yeah. Bada boom.
Absolutely.
There's your Bible trivia of the day.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. I love it. Are you going to do your football picks this week, Tim?
Well, there's not any games on. There's a couple D3. I think there's a couple bowls coming up, but nothing that I really care about. I think that the football season of predictions, as we get closer towards the NFL playoffs, we're probably going to move towards NFL playoff predictions. Yeah, maybe because I don't know if we're going to have a Saturday show before a lot of the heavy games.
Yeah, what I will say is that the comments that I'm reading down below from Kid Coleman and Crimson Caravan and Maynard, which Maynard, they're all kind of agreeing with you, Tim. They think that the SEC is going to pull a rabbit out of the hat and kind of surprise the markets and say, yeah, we're denying this ETF, but then they'll come back and approve it later on. So it seems like they're agreeing with you. That's kind of interesting. Of course, it's not a representative sample of.
Hey, here's what I'll say.
Gary
Even though
Gensler,
I agree with them, we have been programmed at this point, T-Shroon, to be cup half empty people.
Uh-oh.
You are a cup half full person. I love it. Your optimism that we are gonna get that approval by January 10th. I admire it and I love it. But at a certain point, you get to a level where you're like, oh, hopium, that's fake, because most times it is. So that's just, I think that's where a lot of us are sitting at this point.
Yeah, there's a lot of shades of gray for sure, and that's why we're not betting, any kind of actual things here, because it could go either way, right? We're probably just going to bet a steak dinner and try to figure out how to make that happen. Yeah. But
Kaya React says, can AVAX hit 52 this weekend? Charts looking good. Don't want to short at the moment while trend is up. Kaya, we actually talked about that earlier in the show. Things start to get really interesting. There's a golden pocket level for AVAX coming in at about $50. And then there was liquidity we saw it wasn't even necessarily, there was liquidity out there too, but there's a lot of support and resistance zones back up here towards 53. So the answer, Kay, is potentially yes. And then again, with John brought to our attention with the unlocking of tokens, we might see AVAX end its rally early. Now, I'm not saying it's going to have like this colossal breakdown. Like I'm not predicting AVAX next week hits $53 and then falls 50% that week, right? I still think it'll wait for the bigger dip to the rest of crypto market, but I think the rally for AVAX is going to come to a close, at least temporarily. So yes, I think you get your AVAX, buys in, take some profit early next week before that unlocking. You probably don't want to wait for the second unlocks. A lot of times things price in. So I'm expecting a lot of traders and investors will probably take their profits a couple days early. That dip might start a little bit before the day they actually unlock it, but that unlocking, you might see like the floodgates come out. I think we could easily see a 30% pullback in AVAX. What that would look like if we got it, let's go optimistic, 53. I think we could pretty quickly find ourselves back down below 40. Just on the news of that unlocking. Why am I saying this, by the way, guys? Well, we had an unlocking back in August. Actually, the dip started happening before then, but that has a lot to do with other things. You guys can see right here. This is when the unlocking got kind of real. We'd already been trailing down sideways. We got that unlocking. AVAX would go on within the next 3 days to fall 19%. Of course, it would keep dropping to the eventual bear market bottom, 30% to the downside. It's easier to do 30% up here after a big pump than it was the fact that it had already been falling the downside. But I could easily see here AVAX doing something along these lines, making its way down. You know, we come up here, we get up here in. Grab the wrong thing. I wanted my drawing tool. I could see us getting up into 50 area, 52, 53, falling back down pretty quickly. Down back to this level, back we have support, kind of dabbling sideways, maybe a little to the upside, and then we get the dip in January and we start to make our move to the downside. We wait for some good news. I'm not going to tell you how far I think it could go to the downside because I already told you guys. I'm not talking about that in this video. That's going to be an early January video where we talk about price actions for dips. But for AVAX, since it's the coin of the day, it's having a great day so far. Touched up above $45 here just a couple of minutes ago. That should be somewhat what we see play out. That unlocking will, of course, flood with more supply. It'll be a catalyst for taking profits for whales and other entities. I would not be surprised to see upwards of 30% pullback within a week.
Yep. I've got the bubbles pulled up. We don't look at the bubbles enough. This is the 1 day. AVAX of the top is definitely of the one of the top coins. Which, by the way, it may be news to you. AVAX flipped Dogecoin. So that's been pretty big news this week. But Osmo is actually beating AVAX. ICP is definitely the big token of the day of the top 100.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, AVAX, though, is one of the ones that I have the most exposure to. Osmo, I haven't looked into this project almost at all. Bonk getting a big shed down 14.3%. If you scroll out to the monthly, though, Bonk is just an animal, man. Absolute animal. I love it.
Indie Rock Crypto says, Tim, you think Lions destroy Broncos? Sean Payton versus Dan Campbell will be pretty epic, I think. The Lions have been disappointing over the last month and a half or so. And the Broncos have made a little bit of they actually have life. I think it'll be a good game. I don't think destroy. I think Lions come out on top. I think Lions win, but it'll be a close game, Indie Rock. Let's see here. Interesting point here. The kid Co-MN said he's talking to CCC, so he's talking to Crimson Caravan Company. I will be putting almost everything on AVAX and Solana to retire. This, of course, I think he's responding to Crimson Caravan Company saying if AVAX gets anywhere near 25 again, I'm backing up the truck. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. We'll talk about that here in a couple of weeks. Now, I'm interested in this one, though. The kid Co-MN, retire. That's an interesting concept as we kind of wrap up the show today. What coins, T-Shroom, would you be looking at when you're thinking about your retirement? Now, you and I are both in year 29. I'm close to 30. You got about another year before you hit your 30s. We got time before we think about retirement. And ultimately, I'm the type of person, when I retire, my goal is as long as I have cognitive ability to think, I want to be involved with business of some kind. Because once you retire and you go play golf all day or sit on the porch, you start to fall pretty fast in your cognitive ability. So I want to keep myself.
Sure.
I want to keep myself working. Right.
I think that's an easy answer for me.
What coins? Yeah. What are you thinking?
I think that by the time you retire, so that's like what, 40, 50 years from now?
Yeah.
Or retire.
Let's think about 40, 35-ish. A lot of people look at retirement at 65, even though life kind of goes. I'm thinking about 40, 50 years. What coin to you, or you're sitting here saying, I'm going to buy this coin and just sit on it because it's going to still be here in 40 to 50 years.
So Bitcoin, right? And the reason I say that is because there's not like crypto, I like to talk about it. We like to talk, but like you have to realize it. You have to look at the .com bubble, right? The .com bubble wiped out like 90% of projects that were like new websites, and so I only think that there's going to be a couple of crypto projects, so to speak, or ecosystems that are going to, live to see, the 2050, right? That's my belief. We talk about these projects as if we're talking about them and analyzing them on like a 3 to 5 year time frame, right? And in 3 to 5 years, a lot of these projects are going to be much more valuable, but that doesn't mean that the market doesn't eventually consolidate and the cream rises to the top. Right now, we're in a world where you can speculate on all of these and you could potentially be right because we don't know. The market doesn't even really understand itself right now. It's going through an initial identity exploration, discovery phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin is already proven. Bitcoin is already there. It is the new digital gold. I mean, so that's my answer. I also think by 2050, we don't talk about this very much, but there's a lot of things that are very, very different about the world we live in. So I don't think Bitcoin is going anywhere, though, and I think Bitcoin is definitely my answer to that question.
Yeah, I think Bitcoin is the right one. And again, I'm not saying Solana and AVAX won't be, but like I think you're right. Like outside of Bitcoin, and to be fair, there are scenarios where Bitcoin is not a top investment here in the next 30 years. But I think it's the only one you can say safely. When you look Ethereum, I don't think Ethereum's safe whatsoever. Cardano, I love Cardano. I think Cardano is kind of creeping up there as a top coin for me that should still be around. But that one I can't really give any security to either.
Yeah, I think there's a slightly separate question here that's similar but very different, which is which coins are you rooting for in the long run? And my answer to that would absolutely be Cardano, Caspa. I have my ideological and my principled kind of fan favorites, right? But from what I believe in, from what I see and see the evidence for, I agree that Ethereum is very much in question. And I say that because of how early we are, if that makes like AOL. Where is AOL today? Right? AOL was the biggest name in the internet.
Was the big dog. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, where is it?
You know what I think is one that's potentially, I want to see what it does in this bull market. But because of what its use case is, and the fact that the largest entities in the world that need this type of technology are adopting it, Chainlink could be one that is still here in 30,
excellent point,
years.
Tim. That is an excellent point, and I agree with you. I actually agree. So that would. I'm kind of feel bad that I didn't think about that, but that is right. I think Chainlink has positioned itself to be the chain for chains, and of course you can argue, well, what about Polkadot? What about Atom as well that are interoperability? I think that those are kind of on the higher totem pole of ones that could last, but I think Chainlink also does just barely kind of make it into that category with Bitcoin. That it also to me has proven some serious staying power. Yeah,
you have to think about it like because the only coins we're really talking about are layer ones. Mm-hmm. You're not really going to look at layer twos as being long-term solutions. But the problem with layer ones is layer ones are kind of, the question is, what have you done for me lately? So I think there will be one layer one currently that is definitely still here 30, 50 years and is a big dog. But which one? Will it be Solana? Will it be Ethereum? Will it be Cardano? Will it be DOT? Will it be,
other than Bitcoin?
Other than Bitcoin. Yeah. But Chainlink, I think Chainlink could just get into a spot where it solidifies itself with the large players of the world to be transacting money. And they're just like, we don't need what have you done for me recently. Yeah. This works. It's fast. It's efficient. It communicates via all the crypto.
I'm so glad that we're having this conversation because it does really need to be, and I think a lot of people in our chat and that watch our channel are very, very smart in tracking this. But for folks, especially who are newer to crypto, don't get it twisted. Like the Caspas of the world this year have proven. I'm looking at the 1 year performance on the bubbles. Caspa has come out of freaking nowhere. Launched in 2021, has come out of nowhere and has made a lot of investors question, that layer one that I'm invested in, whether it be, whatever it is, maybe be Ethereum or Cardano or or HBAR. Is that really going to be the best blockchain? Is that going to be the blockchain that's used by by every corporation. And then you have to ask this question: is like, so the Caspas of the world right now, like they're making investors scratch their head. But what about in 5 years? And what about when we're able to unleash an AI, an AGI, to say, hey, AGI, create a blockchain, right? Or whatever it is, a hash graph, or or a block DAG, or a whatever it is. Like, there's a lot of technologies that we're only at the beginning, I think, is a good summary of kind of what we're trying to say here. That doesn't mean that, but it doesn't mean that in the short term that some of these projects are going to absolutely skyrocket. And that's why we're here. That's why we have a channel. That's why people tune in, because there's a lot to be excited about in the early phases of this industry. But don't get it twisted. 90%, if not more, of the names that you have a relationship with, the AVAXs, the H&Ts, the XRPs of the world, some of those are going to be completely dissolved, absorbed by other blockchains. You've talked about, Charles Hoskinson a couple weeks ago talked about making Algorand a side chain to Cardano. That's kind of stuff's going to happen. There's going to be entire projects that you think is the king, and you're the super involved in their ecosystem, that are just going to get absorbed by the Caspas of the world, the Caspas of tomorrow, that just come through with this crazy alien blockchain that nobody ever thought of. So,
yeah, Bedridden makes a good point. He says gaming is still going to be around years to come. Yeah, but the question is it a current game? Like, has any gaming blockchain set itself apart to be like, we are the dominant force here? Maybe, but there could be another one that slips in. Alter Ego has a good question. By the way, sup, Alter Ego. It says, does an ETF mean it will survive long term? Here's what I'll say, Alter Ego. First of all, ETFs, I think an ETF would imply, let's talk about the definition of words you just used. Does an ETF mean it will survive long term? I think the answer is probably yes. I don't think they're going to be rushing to create ETFs for things that they're going to quickly dump. Now, this whole conversation, though, was about what do you feel strongly about dumping your hard-earned earnings into and sitting on for retirement? Just because as an ETF does not mean it will be moving to the upside exponentially. You could see an ETF, let's say Ethereum, for example. So maybe Ethereum makes it for 50 years, but there's so many other things that do things better than it, that the price gets really boring and really dragging on. And it's like, all right, could you make an extra 3% every single year in your overall growth of your Ethereum ETF? Maybe. But why would you invest in that when there's so many other things doing better? I don't know if I want to put my retirement into a very sideways, boring looking ETF. I want to put into one that's getting annual good returns every single year. Like, I think Bitcoin definitely will. And I think there's going to be several others, whether they currently exist or they're going to exist, that will be very good long-term investments. That's the question, though. We got to figure that out.
Yeah. Okay. Let me throw another wrench into this. I'm about to drop a link to a YouTube channel of a guy who does a lot of futurism, and maybe you're intimately familiar. You're watching this. You're intimately familiar with futurism and the convergence of AI and the singularity and all of these types of things. If you're familiar with those words, you probably already know more than me about it. But I'm dropping a link to a YouTube channel where they talk about this kind of stuff. You also have to remember that with the pace, I believe that with the pace of AI and the pace of things like vertical farming, the pace of internet development, software development, and space travel, that the concept of retirement may be radically different by the time in 30 to 50 years. It may not. It may be completely the same. My hunch and what I believe, and if you watch the YouTube channel, the link I just dropped in the chat, is that things are not going to be. People are going to be making. Are going to be considering variables that are not even existing yet in consideration for their end of their life, for retirement. So I'll leave it there. I mean, it's a huge rabbit hole to go down, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm in crypto. I love crypto, but it is just one vertical of several revolutionary technologies that are poised to, if regulators and the private sector can work together cohesively, put together a unified plan of how to move forward and create a amazing, abundant future for humanity, then we could be looking at retirement being completely changed. And what I mean by that is our relationship with money and savings could be radically different. And I've thought a lot about this, and there's a lot that I'm not saying. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah,
I'm
no, it's-
extremely interested. Crypto is just one piece of this bigger puzzle that,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, and as we're wrapping it out, like that's another thing to think about when you guys are thinking as you're leaving the show and you're smashing that like button and you're hitting subscribe, you might be saying, what am I subscribing to when I subscribe to the Investing Bros? Well, let's just start right there with the name, the Investing Bros. Notice it's not the Bitcoin Bros.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the Crypto Bros. It's not the Finance Bros. It's not the Trading Bros. It's the Investing Bros. And while right now, again, we're about a year old, we have heavily put our attention into crypto. We've dabbled and talked about stocks. This whole conversation, I think, is fascinating, T-Shroom, because this is the conversation you and I are going to have for the next 30 to 40 years. Why? Because we are the Investing Bros, and we're constantly be chasing and looking at what is the best investment that people can be doing to take their hard-earned time. By the way, guys, money is time. So when you're building this, what is your time worth? How do you take your time, your hard-earned money, and turn it into something that you can A, live comfortably off of yourself, and B, leave to future generations so that they can get bigger and better as they move on with their lives. So when you guys are leaving the channel, subscribe, watch all of our content, engage with us. If you guys love what T-Shroom and I do, please consider trying to be here for every single episode, every single video. Smash that like, tell your friends about every single one of them. Comment down below, engage in chat, comment in the comment section, because that tells YouTube in the engagement world, hey, this is a good channel. More people need to see it. They want to push us out to more people. If you guys love what we're doing here, please do all of those things. That is all that we have for today, but we will be back on Monday with our regularly scheduled information and videos. Guys, we love you. See you on Monday. Go touch some grass, hug a loved one, eat a hot dog. Adios.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are Investing Bros. We are Investing Bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shouted out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are Investing Bros. We are Investing Bros.